Great. So now we've all met each other. It's nice, isn't it, when we meet first silently through the Dhamma in a practice context, and then this person has a name, this person lives somewhere, and they have a voice, and we already feel somehow familiar. Good. I must say it is very heartening. I love it, actually, to see this place come alive when we have these half-day gatherings, and it just feels to come into its own somehow. It's what it's made for. So thank you all for being here. It's very touching and inspiring too, because you bring with you a practice energy. Maybe you think it's the place that has that energy, and it is a quiet, beautiful place, but I think the power of people practicing together can't be understated. So thank you very much for your sincerity of practice. I was thinking the backlights, not this one. Yeah. So now is the chance to discuss anything you wish to about life, practice, anything at all, really, as far as you wish. And of course, we only have not all day, but a nice 40-minute session. So, please feel free to comment, question, or complain. Or praise. What was it? Comment, question, complaint is Ajahn Brahm's 3 C's, but we added a 4th C, which was compliment. Not me, but the Dhamma. Compliment the Dhamma. So anyway, anything at all. And of course it's England, so we take a bit of time to warm up. But yeah.
Can I ask, of course, about the importance of silence? Because this was my first little taster of silence, and I felt really not relieved, but it just felt so lovely to be silent and not have to say something to somebody, and not feel that you were just filling in gaps or saying something for the sake of it. And even just introducing ourselves is as nice as that is, it's possibly not necessary. Yeah. What is the importance of silence?
Thank you for the question. That's beautiful. Yeah, the importance of silence and the relief of not having to kind of feel that you have to fill in the gaps and be something for someone somehow. It's a huge relief. And I started my practice in India in 1996. And the thing that most attracted me to one of the things anyway, it was very important for me to choose the retreat that I did, was the fact that it was in total silence, which even included not reading or writing. I had an instinct that would be the best way to start actually seeing what was going on inside. And I think that container of silence was essential to the success of the retreat. Not always to the ease and the happiness of myself, because the mind was chattering away, but it was such a relief not to have to think about others for once, because I think especially maybe for women who are socialized to always be on the lookout for how we can help people, how we can serve, how we can support, it's almost that I felt I needed permission not to have to, and that there was this container of other people who were taking care of the retreatants' needs. So it was like permission to go deeply inside, and I think it's beautiful and so nourishing for the mind. Some people it's normal and natural because we have so little of it that sometimes silence can be intimidating for some people some of the time. So I think, if we can have that positive relationship with it, and then to allow it to nourish the mind, it's a resting place. It's a relief. And I was on retreat in Perth several years ago. I go there every year for 3 months so far. I shouldn't take it for granted. And at one point, my mind did become silent for a couple of weeks without really any thinking at all. And I remember when because everything changes, right? It's not like, oh, now I've made it, I'm silent all the time. When the thoughts did start coming back, they came back very slowly at first. But even with very sparse, light thinking, I needed to sleep more. That was amazing, like a good hour more, just from having a few thoughts in the mind. So I realized that, yeah, one of the benefits of silence is that you allow your mind to recharge and to energize, because it takes a lot of brain power to think all the time, to work things out, answer questions, make decisions, which I have to do every day a lot. Yeah, and the brain needs a rest. So yeah, it's really important. And when the mind starts to kind of re-energize, when we leave things alone and stop putting so much energy into doing and fixing and thinking, we start to get stronger mindfulness. The mindfulness kind of, the lights in the mind sort of start to turn up. And with that extra energy and mindfulness, we start to get joy. Mm. And this is kind of the causal sequence for deep meditation. So gradually that joy will nourish the mind even more deeply, and we'll be able to really deeply relax and allow the mind to turn inward. So it's I would say, very important. Yeah.
Can I just follow on?
Sure.
So if you're in a busy environment,
yeah,
there's just so much going on,
sure,
and certain people are loud.
Yeah.
It takes your energy away, doesn't it?
It can do, yeah.
So how do you do?
Yeah.
You go in, don't you? I suppose. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's hard.
It is harder. It is, especially if you're kind of overwrought, you know, your nervous system's kind of overstimulated. I had the same question to Ajahn Brahm many years ago on a retreat in Frankfurt, near Frankfurt. And the retreat was in silence. I was enjoying the forest and the stillness. And then there was the temptation to go along with him to an evening talk in Frankfurt during the retreat. And he's like, oh, no, don't bother, you know, don't just follow me there, you know, just carry on meditating. But I'm like, oh, I'm not sure. I don't want to miss out, you know, the fear of missing out. So in the end, I went along, and there were about 100 or 200 people, and it was so noisy in the kind of foyer area. And I said to Ajahn Brahm, like, how do you deal with this? Because he gets really deeply silent inside, like not just silence outside, but, you know, deep, deep stillness. And he just said, oh, yeah, just make peace with the noise. I just make peace with the busyness. It was just that simple sentence. It sounds so easy, like, oh, yeah, you just make peace. But I think the point of that is that he's not fighting with it. He's not wasting even more energy by objecting to it, wishing it was different. But he's just staying silent inside. So sometimes the problem is we talk back at the noise. Yeah. So that is a perceptual shift. And at the same time, I think just taking moments of silence for yourself, even if it's just by going to the toilet and locking the door and staying in there longer. You know, just remembering silence is there if we care to look for it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's going to speak, which is fine.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So I imagine like quite a few people, I find right speech kind of a challenging thing in my daily life. And something happened earlier this week which made me think about it in a little bit of a different way. I had a meeting with a few colleagues, and it was online, and it was right after lunch. And so one person arrived, and I was like, oh, maybe the other person is still at lunch or doing something. And my colleague commented like, oh, we're gossiping, like as a kind of joke. And then I was reflecting on it later, and it seemed I hadn't considered like this kind of speculation about what people are doing as like a form of gossiping. And yes, I was just wondering if you can comment a bit on that aspect of speech.
Interesting. I mean, I think in that kind of situation, from your perspective, it didn't seem like gossiping. So maybe that points you to the fact that your intention wasn't bad. So I think it's quite normal. I mean, my mum and dad seem to go around throughout the day, always asking where the other one is. What are you doing? Where are you? And it's, although I find it a little bit like, oh, for goodness sake, can't you just not know where the other one is for 2 minutes? Which is a sort of annoying, obnoxious teenage attitude, really, isn't it? Actually, they're very fortunate to have each other and, to still be married after 50 something years. So by itself, it's not the words you say. I think a lot of the time it's where you're coming from. But it's interesting that your colleague said that, because that's quite sensitive. And maybe we do use a lot of what we might call unnecessary speech. So in the Buddhist text, there are 4 kinds of wrong speech. So obviously lying. So there's false speech, malicious speech, which is very clearly like coming from ill will or intention to divide rather than unite people. False, malicious, harsh speech, which can be content or the delivery as well. So the Buddha says, to try to speak gently and with a mind of loving kindness whenever we possibly can. And if we know that we have ill will, to keep quiet, Or if we had to deliver a difficult message, maybe check when it's the right time for that person and deliver it couched in kindness, say a couple of pleasant things first, or build that person up first, even ask them for permission for the feedback, rather than just coming out with it straight away. So we have false, harsh, malicious, and gossip. So the last one is the gossip. And it's kind of speech that wastes your time and other people's time. So if it just continues on and on and on, it's called papancha in Pali. It means kind of proliferation, just going on and on in your own mind, or it definitely happens on meditation retreats. But also it can happen through speech. So that's the kind of guideline. And then, of course, we can practice their opposites, which is equally as important. And in a way, that displaces the wrong kinds of speech. The more we can speak kindly, with a purpose for other people's benefit, etc. Things that actually pertain to the path. The Buddha says, try to use speech, try to talk about things that are helping us on the path. Some examples of that are like talk about wanting little, talk about solitude, freedom from desire. Turning off our television, not having our mobile phone in the Dhamma hall. So the kind of speech that uplifts the mind. Yes, I wouldn't necessarily say it's bad, but it's an interesting reflection, isn't it? About how we could be using our time and our speech. Yeah. Thanks for that. It's a huge realm of practice. Like, I think it's the main field of practice, because as a bhikkhuni, we have 311 rules, or not really rules. I like to call them trainings in restraint. But I often think that many of them are quite straightforward. Many of them are kind of practical, or even conventions, monastic conventions that sort of we agree to live by for the sake of cohesion and harmony. But I think the hardest ones, and the ones which cause most harm a lot of the time, or on a more regular basis, are the ones around speech. So it's certainly a very rich field of practice. Yeah. Yeah. Hi.
Hi. I have something that hasn't quite come into a question yet, but I think it's something I've had based on an experience I had in the very first meditation with the letting it be, which I thought was a message or an offer that I really wanted at that, or like that I really needed at that time. And I found that my mind has been very busy for specific things, and a specific issue that needs to be solved that's really complex and emotionally difficult.
Yeah.
And I found I was actually able to let like the mental cognitive kind of problem solving, sort of let that go and let that be. But there was this tension, emotional tension, that I then felt really clearly that was just still there.
Sure.
And there's something about I found it difficult to distinguish between, in that feeling of that tension, between kind of doing and happening? Like, was it something I was doing, and could I let it go more, right? Or was it something that was just happening?
Yeah.
And does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes the two are difficult to dissect completely because our tendency is to kind of get involved, right? So even if it is most likely, to me, it sounds like just the emotional kind of result of what you've been contending with, right? Having to make some kind of emotionally charged decision, complicated situation, like the thoughts died down and then you were left with the actual felt experience. And it's interesting because the felt experience can be a result of the thinking, or it can also be the kind of, in a way, the kind of emotional background to the kind of thoughts that come up, if that makes sense. Like, from certain feelings, a certain kind of thought pattern is likely to arise. And if we can catch it at the level of those feelings, then it might not actually manifest in thought. So it's probably connected with the thinking. And it's probably, to me, it sounds like vipaka, which is like the result of that particular decision that you have to make. And the more you can just let it be. And I think there is a distinction between letting it be and letting it go. Letting be is the actual practice that enables letting go, right? We can't really do letting go because then it becomes a pushing away too easily.
Yeah.
So if you would be able to, spend longer with those feelings, then over time they might just start to dissolve or to shift or to change. And so the letting be involves making peace with that. Just letting it be, making peace with it, not worrying about it. It's like a kind of residue. Yeah. But it's great that you got to that, that you could get to what's underneath it. Because often we use our thinking actually to escape from it as well.
Yeah.
But that's giving us messages, right? The emotions are giving us like a sense of how to go forward. It's more like getting in touch with your intuition. Yeah. So from there, you might find some sort of resolution. I mean, you don't look for it, but often it's when we get in touch with our emotional felt sense that the intuition can arise and decisions become clear. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. It was nice to see you lie down, actually, because I think sometimes we just need to rest as well. Just, that can help to just allow the mind to relax. Yeah.
Yeah, that was my intuition.
Great. Yeah. Hi.
So the last few months I've really made the Dhamma my priority, and just recently I've given up my last hobby, which I wanted to do so I could use that time more wisely in my opinion. How I was thinking, would taking the 8 precepts daily make a dramatic difference? I want to get to samadhi.
Quickly.
Would taking the 8 precepts every day, because the temptation is overwhelming, for me, like not doing entertainment and eating in the evening. Temptation. But if that's going to really make a big difference.
Well, that's a really interesting question. The thing is, if we have the motivation or the intention to experience samadhi quickly, we have to be a bit careful, right? Because we might be trying to rush something. There might be a little bit too much wanting there. And that will mean that, it's natural, right? We all kind of have this thought, and it's great that you see that, right? There's this feeling like you want it to happen soon. And all of us are sort of almost desperate for a resting place, for just being able to turn inside and really get that deep restoration for the mind. So it's really understandable, but it of course doesn't come that way. So whilst part of that intention is wholesome, I think the wanting may be an obstacle whether you take 8 precepts or not. So I don't think that would be make the fundamental difference. However, you know, when you're living an active life, the last precept, is it the last one? One of the last ones, or the sixth one, about not eating after solar noon might be a bit tricky, because obviously you need to feel energized. Sometimes people don't eat a proper meal in the middle of the day if they're at work, and that evening meal is your sustenance. So, and at the same time, the evening meal can be a big faff, take loads of time, and, you know, and yeah, kind of also be like papancha, right? Proliferation. So you could simplify, but I wouldn't necessarily say not eating when you're active in the world is a good idea. But the not, you know, indulging in entertainment and music and things like that could be really helpful for samadhi practice, definitely. Especially if you're the kind of person who gets an earworm pretty easily. Or, I mean, like me, everything that goes in just comes out, everything. It's crazy. Like, I was wondering what happened with this crazy dream, and somebody mentioned that we talked about one of the African countries, not even Ghana, was it? Yes. I don't know. But just any sort of impression that goes in, it seems to come out. And in my first few retreats, well, for the first 2 years, actually, just every song I'd ever even remotely heard in the distance would play. And it was nauseating. Some of it was just terrible. And I was a bit of a music snob. So... So I definitely think that, you know, reducing anyway, don't try and force anything, but reducing those kind of things can help. Yeah. But the most important thing is the gradual training. It's making a very strong foundation through virtue and sense restraint, and just, yeah, gradually developing that love for the practice and finding contentment with wherever you're at. Yeah. So contentment tends to be the path into deeper meditation. Yeah. Thanks for asking. Yeah, hi.
This question kind of relates to the precepts, but why is it that chocolate and cheese
I know.
Is that because
it's so strange? I think it must be to do with the Western monks deciding that they were tasty, to be honest. And maybe sustaining, like they're very fatty and sugary. But I mean, they loosely base it on sort of principles in the Vinaya, but I think it's a bit stretching the meaning a little bit. The Buddha did allow honey and ghee and something that could be like sort of carob, something like that. What else? Cow's urine, which is far away from chocolate. Not nearly as tasty. And other strange, herbs that were, they're not strange, but they're, you know, not easy to find here, like Ayurvedic herbs that were in use at that time. They loosely argue that chocolate is like carob and cheese is like something like ghee, but it's not, because it's a totally different thing. So, yeah, I mean, I think the main thing is you just draw the line somewhere. But I know a couple of nuns who've decided that it's expensive and indulgent, and so they eat nuts, which is also not really allowed. But I mean, I have a gastric problem and I eat a few oats in the evening for health reasons. So really, these precepts are supposed to be to keep us healthy and to keep us sustained. So yeah, working within that is important. And if there is chocolate and cheese, to be moderate with it. Yeah, which is not always easy, but yeah, actually we're fine now. I think generally we're quite good, aren't we, at being moderate until we make a hot chocolate using a whole bar, which is only once. I think it's the first time we've ever done that, actually. Yeah, we've never done that before, but that's between 3. So, but generally, I've noticed in the beginning when I started, you know, having a place to stay, that the lay guests who would come would like bring more and more chocolate every day, and it would become just almost obscene. And my job seemed to be to rein it in and then wait again and watch it build. And then like, okay, guys, this is too much, rein it in. But that seems to have died down now, because, yeah, it's like anything. You become sick, don't you? You just get fed up if you have too much of anything. So, yeah. Ajahn Brahm always says it's more important what comes out of your mouth than what goes in it. which is really cute and really true. Much harder to practice.
I have a question about the word of the Buddha.
Uh-huh.
Because, you know, in the Theravada tradition, the idea is that it's the closest to the word of the Buddha.
Early Buddhist.
But who wrote the word of the Buddha?
Yeah.
He didn't write it, right? Who passed it on?
Yeah. So this came down through the various councils, which carried on transmitting the teachings through word of mouth. And I think the first council was shortly after the Buddha's parinibbana. So after he went parinibbana'd, let's say. And then I don't know all the history, I won't get it right, but I think the next one was about 200 years after that. And I know the most recent one was in Myanmar around the 1950s, something like that. I think that was the last one. I don't think they've had one since then. So the story goes that at the first council, 500 fully enlightened monastics, I would like to say, were there, including the Venerable Ananda, who was the Buddha's attendant and had this incredible memory. And I would imagine that a lot of the monastics, monks and nuns, did, because the way the texts are phrased, you can see that it's like there's quite a lot of repetition. There's quite a lot of kind of systematizing of the teachings. So there's groups of 4 or groups of 6 or whatever, and certain themes. And so when that's your main way of memorizing, of, you know, transmitting teachings, then you tend to have a good memory. My memory used to be much better. I mean, how many phone numbers did we all know before these? I don't know. What do we do now? Just put it in the mobile phone.
Yeah.
And we don't remember anything anymore.
Yeah.
So, yeah, through consensus, they all sort of agreed that this was the Buddha's words. And one of the texts I would really encourage you to read, which is modern, it's like a little study that Bhante Sujato and Ajahn Brahmali did, and it's called The Authenticity of the Early Buddhist Texts. And it's published by, I think, the Oxford Mindfulness Centre, somewhere in Oxford. So that's really like high cred, right? Oxford. So they were very happy about that. And it's a great book and quite easy to read, considering that it's fairly academic. It's very accessible. And it talks about how you can verify the authenticity of the text through the language used, through the political and geographical situation. You know, in some earlier texts, the location was a small village, and later texts it became a big city, and this can be historically proven archaeologically as well. So it's really amazing, actually. And also there's cross, what do they call it? Cross-textual studies, what do you call it?
That sounds right.
Yeah, it's not quite right, but there've been comparative studies, I think, with the Chinese agamas, which are almost identical to the Pali suttas. And quite often, if you find a sutta or a passage in the text, in the Pali text, that seems obscure or seems sexist, or is sexist, and you compare it with the Chinese, it's not there, or vice versa, whereas the rest is almost word for word, slightly different phrasing at times, but it's almost word for word. And these things have been preserved in parallel. So it's really amazing, you know, that can be studied to that depth. So, yeah, I think, and I guess for me, the sort of verification is in the practice as well. It can be validated as something very special, like that couldn't really have been passed down by someone who wasn't enlightened, because it goes so deep. And compare it to other religions, you know. I probably should be careful when I say this, but I don't know, I like this simile that I mentioned last night in the sutta discussion of a mountain, and there are all these different sages or different people who at the bottom are just ordinary people, and then they start to climb this mountain, and they get to a certain point on the mountain and they think they're at the top, you know. It happens, doesn't it? When there's a big hill, you think, oh, I'm nearly there. And then from there, they start to create a philosophy. They say, oh, well, this is what I've seen, so this is enlightenment, or this is, you know, the divine. But then the next person's walked a bit further and they realize that wasn't the top of the mountain. So from that place, another philosophy starts. And it's only, you know, when you get right to the top that you can kind of have the perspective on how these different philosophies start and why people would teach in such a way, because that is what they're seeing from their place on the mountain. So to me, it seems that the Buddha went right to the top of that mountain, because other religions say, for example, that, everything is non-self, yes, but not cosmic consciousness. That is the self. The Buddha's gone even a step further. I've gone straight to the depth of it, but bit by bit, you can see more and more. So for me, that's one of the beautiful things about the teachings. They're having beneficial effects for me now. The longer that I practice, the deeper it goes. And yet I still know there's a lot further. So the scope is just enormous. And the Buddha's saying we can be free from all suffering, not just some suffering, but all suffering. So, sounds good, huh? Have I sold it?
Thank you.
Hey, Sean.
Hi. Just a question. You may have partly answered it. Have you got any suggestions for reading suttas? Because I'm really bad at it and I haven't read them for ages, but I'd like to. Maybe some that are easy to read, like one place, because obviously there's just so much.
Yeah.
And then I think I should read that one, and I start reading there. I'm all because my mind's like that anyway, because of my life. So it's nice to just something to point.
Yeah. Fantastic question. It's so funny that you asked that, because I was whispering to my Anagarikas when we were in the utility room, which is like our secret hideaway, and saying Sean's really into the suttas. Like even in the kitchen, you're reading the paramis, like taking it in. And it's just funny, isn't it, that we say to ourselves, oh, I'm not very good at it or whatever, but that's your interest. So I would say congratulate yourself. But since you have that interest, do you prefer stories? Do you prefer suttas with context? Do you prefer straight doctrine? Do you prefer variety? Like that will give me a clue as to...
Potentially stories. I read, I can't remember which one it is, but it was talking about, was it Nanda whose mother berated him?
Oh, that was Venerable Sariputta.
Well, that's in the introduction to one of the books by Bikram.
Is it?
And I liked reading about things like that.
Yeah.
Where it was telling the story of him and what happened.
You know what might be nice is the Great Disciples of the Buddha. And it's a compilation of stories about each disciple, each key disciple. Unfortunately, it's very weighted on the male disciples, but there's a small little section on the nuns and on other female lay disciples.
That was where I read that.
Possibly, yeah, because it goes through each chief disciple's life, and in that it talks about their teachings to their relationship to the Buddha, and you get to know them as people and also kind of get this big perspective of the Buddha's teachings and how they were lived. So I find that absolutely wonderful, and it's story form. So I don't know, if you haven't read it for a while, maybe try that. Otherwise, the Majjhima Nikaya is full of stories, the Digha Nikaya too, but the suttas are longer. I personally like the Samyutta because it's doctrine. And I just love to kind of be able to go into, say, the 5 khandhas or the 6 senses. Yeah, maybe you have too much to choose from, right? Yeah. Well, I mean, you could come to our sutta discussions, which you do anyway, I think. And then if in a particular sutta discussion there are other suttas mentioned, then that could just lead on to a bit more interest.
Was there one I think that you mentioned last night?
Yeah, Majjhima number 51. Or, I don't know.
Something you mentioned, I thought, oh, that might be interesting too.
Yeah. I started getting into them more probably through Ajahn Brahm. And I remember reading Mindfulness, Bliss and Beyond, which was his sort of second book, but first book really on meditation. And it's just footnoted throughout, referring to suttas. And I love that because it gets me, into the suttas in a way that's related to practice.
Yeah.
The other thing that helped me in the beginning when I started teaching was to obviously reference what the Buddha said. So if I wanted to give a talk on metta, I went to the back of, I think the Anguttara Nikaya is particularly well referenced in the back. But most of them are, and in there you can find like the theme, you can look up factors of enlightenment or loving kindness, or I don't know, the 5 Indriyas, and it will tell you every single place where they're referenced. So if you're a real kind of nerd, you might like to do a bit of that. And that's nice. It really opens out the context of these teachings and their kind of, the different ways they're taught. I've probably made you more confused, giving you too many ideas. But hopefully that's whetted the appetite as well.
Yeah, definitely. I'll have a disciple.
Yeah, that's a really lovely book. If anyone else wants to try that one. Yeah. Well, is there anything else before we do a bit more meditation? We still have time. It tends to be this Q&A thing, doesn't it? Whereas it could also be just discussion, or you might want to share something. You look like you might. Could we actually have that light on now? That normal light. Yeah.
So I have a
second one.
A question percolating. It's not kind of like quite kind of it's bubbling, but it's going to come out.
That's all right.
So it's still on the subject of kind of suttas. And for instance, when we're reading a sutta, and for instance, the Buddha talks about the wise person and the unwise person. So how do we avoid falling into the trap of entering into kind of like duality and kind of like an identifying manner, so that we're not despairing, like, oh my gosh, I'm definitely the unwise person, I'm never going to change or I'm the wise person. How do we kind of work with something that's formatted in a dualistic way without kind of falling on one side or the other?
Super question. I think when the Buddha teaches in this way, he's showing the whole range, actually. He's showing kind of like the bottom end and then the top end. And in reality, everybody's somewhere in between. Another way that I would understand the teaching is that the Buddha's pointing to behaviors. And there is a sutta called The Wise Person and the Fool, not even the unwise person, Balapandita Sutta. But it's talking about it more in terms of, if your behavior is virtuous, then you can reflect at the end of the day, I've done something that is good, something that is valuable, something that's beneficial to others. I've not done anything that's blameworthy, and a person can really rejoice. And it's a lovely sutta. It actually says something like, their goodness overshadows them and envelops them when they lie in bed at night. So it's talking more about cause and effect in a way, and the benefit of living a virtuous life. But one of the principles that I really love, which is talked about in the Arana Vibhanga Sutta, that's Majjhima 139, and don't think I know all the sutta numbers, it's just that's one of my favorites, is really nice, because it says in there that one must always teach the Dhamma and not, I don't know if it says not the individual, but it's kind of like, you don't blame the person, you teach the principle. So rather than saying these people, have really bad behavior and, their behavior leads to suffering, you say something more like, this behavior, when practiced often, has these results. So you don't say those people are doing this or these people are doing that. You just talk about it in terms of cause and effect. So I think that's really important. Yeah. Duality. I mean, at the same time, there is right and wrong, ethically. And, the whole Eightfold Path is framed in terms of right this, right that, right the other. And again, it's not a sort of moral judgment, but it's more to say that if liberation is your goal, then these are the steps to take. So they're right within the context of the goal you're aspiring towards. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I suppose you have to have like suffering and not suffering, right? So that.
Yeah, I mean, the Buddha's pointing to the possibility of ending all suffering, and suffering and not suffering. I mean, for most of us, it's just a matter of degree, right? Because the only place there's really no suffering is Nibbana. Yeah. Even jhanas are suffering. Even Ajahn says so. So if you're craving for samadhi, don't worry. You're craving for suffering. No, of course, it's much more refined and will actually appear joyful in comparison to anything else until you go to the next stage and the next and the next. In other words, not really stages, but let go of more suffering. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much for the lovely Dhamma dialogue. Really rich and helpful for me as well, because when you ask me questions, it makes me reflect, and I don't know, I have to just, it's like you can't really think about it, you just see what comes out. It's quite an interesting practice. So hopefully something was of benefit to everyone here. So I always like to end every retreat that I lead with some metta meditation. So far we've not been sort of adding a particular colour onto our practice, not intentionally anyway, but now we might observe our experience and intentionally generate thoughts of loving kindness. So look upon our experience through the eyes or the lens of love. So please have a little stretch. Don't be shy if you need to stand up, or I know there's more chairs at the back if anyone feels they've sat long enough on the floor. More cushions if you want to change. And do we want the light on for this? Yeah, just press one. Yeah, super. So just as with all meditation, we don't need to force anything. And please receive whatever's offered as an invitation, not as a command or an instruction as such. And perhaps it may be helpful to just begin by allowing your awareness to gently soak through your body or around your body if there are blockages there. Sometimes I like to imagine it as a mist, a gentle mist surrounding the body, perhaps permeating through. Maybe if it's natural for you, you could imagine yourself receiving sunlight, the golden warm rays of the sun, and just soaking them up. So that as your awareness soaks through the body, it carries with it the warmth, a sense of kindness, ease, that allows the body to settle. You might wish to spend longer, give more attention and kindness to areas of the body that are tight, or maybe where you have some sickness or aches or pains. Imagining that you're just basking those areas in the sun or soaking them in a hot bath, allowing tension to release. Allowing things to be. Making sure each and every part of your body is noticed, is cared for. From the top of that head down through your body, trunk, down through your arms to your fingers and fingertips, and right down through the legs to the toes. And connecting to a sense of your own values, your own good intentions, your noble intentions, the qualities you try to develop and manifest in the world. Just feeling that, acknowledging those qualities in your heart with gladness. With a sense of self-respect and care. Being very gentle, very forgiving with yourself. Knowing there's goodness in here. And wishing yourself well. Using phrases if you wish, such as may I be happy. May I be free from distress. May I be safe. May I be at ease, or whatever words resonate for you. Staying connected to the felt sense of your body and your emotional world. And listening in the spaces between each phrase, enjoying the silence, infused by loving kindness. You might not need many words at all. Now, if you wish, bringing to mind a loved person or a friend, someone you feel a sense of natural kindness and gratitude towards. Someone who brings a smile to your heart, to your face, when you think of them. And just allow thoughts, feelings, the energy of loving kindness to slowly start enveloping them. As though you were smiling into their heart. And their whole body was being soaked through with goodwill. Perhaps you have a sense of this person's presence or even an image in your mind. Just picture this dear person relaxed, content, at ease, as you suffuse them with loving kindness, loving thoughts. Just trusting the power of intention. You don't need to make much effort, but just regarding this person with goodwill. And keeping this person close, we can start allowing the loving kindness, the energy, the thoughts, the intentions of love to spread outwards from our bodies and into this room. To everyone sitting here, a beautiful, harmonious group of people who came together just for a time. Wishing everyone safety, happiness, ease, allowing that energy of loving kindness to fill up every corner of this room, to soak through every person. Any little creatures in the corners, maybe spiders, as though the sunlight were pouring in on us. Soaking us through. And gradually expanding beyond the walls, through the windows, spilling over into the areas around this monastery outside. Down the lanes, through the forest, to Oxford, to all beings living there. Whatever they're doing right now, maybe arguing, laughing, cooking, maybe sick in the hospitals, maybe working late. And keep on spreading loving kindness to the places you've come from. The Didcot, High Wycombe, London, small villages surrounding the towns and the cities, until this loving kindness is spread throughout England and beyond. Just allow it to keep expanding, not only to human beings, but even animals, insects, birds, fish, frogs, creatures under the ground, all beings. Spreading across and throughout Europe, up to Scandinavia, to the Middle East, down to Africa, as wide as our hearts allow, crossing oceans, crossing continents, to Russia, to Asia, the Americas, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the North and South Pole. Imagine this loving kindness carrying with it this beautiful radiant warmth, golden glow of sunshine that shines impartially on all beings. Perhaps shining that bit longer on the troubled parts of the world. People of Palestine, Sudan, Myanmar, places experiencing civil war, not so civil at all. So much suffering in the world. May all beings right now receive our loving kindness. May all beings right now be safe. Be free from suffering. May all beings be at ease. And just allowing the loving kindness to be expansive beyond color, creed, race, gender, beyond individuals, species. Just pure disembodied love. And just rest with this perception for a while, relaxing all effort. Relaxing all intention. Just trusting love to spread. May all beings be free from suffering, the causes of suffering. Free from greed, hate, and delusion that cause so much harm. Once again, imagining the whole planet Earth radiating love, shining with a golden glow. And then gradually bringing that loving kindness back into this room, coming back to the sense of everyone here. And to your own body, your own mind. Gently sensing into your body once again. Sensing the quality of your mind. How do you feel? I'm just staying with a sense of goodwill. Goodwill to whatever you feel right now. Sabbe sutta, sabbe pana, sabbe bhuta, sabbe pugala, Sabbe atta bhava pariyapana. Sabba itiyo. Sabbe purisa. Sabbe ariya. Sabbe anariya. Sabbe deva. Sabbe manusa. Sabbe vinipadika. Avivahontu. Abhyapajahontu. Anigahontu. Sukhiyatanam pariharantu. Dukkhamunjantu. Yadalada sampatito. Maue gachantu. Kamasaka. Just allowing the metta to soak through your body once again. And if you wish, you can gently open your eyes, and you know what's coming next. Most of you. The three big sadhus. So sadhu means very good, excellent, awesome. And it's traditionally practiced in Buddhist countries and also in less traditional Buddhist countries like Australia with gusto. So let's do it with some energy. Sadhu. Sadhu. Oh, you're awesome. Sadhu. It has to come with a ha-ha. That's fantastic. Very good. Genuine sadhus. Thank you so much. And yeah, you're going to take this seat now and say a few words. No, you have to sit here. You can come next to me. Yeah, you can. I'll move that there. Yes, very good. Okay. So I'm inviting Anukampa to say a few words to end.
Alrighty. It's been a lovely day, friends. I would like to now talk a little bit about generosity. Generosity is such a beautiful and ennobling quality. It's to quote somebody I know, it's actually the foundation of our practice in the Dhamma. The Buddha, said, even when we are giving, it's best to do so with a heart full of joy. This beautifies the mind and it prepares us for deeper practice, for serenity and insight as well. And actually, there's so many layers to giving. For example, when we're giving, it encourages us to reflect, what are our values? What are our priorities? Where do you want to put our energy, our resources, right? It's almost encourages us to explore, what's important to us right now in this moment. And what are our values really, truly? And when we're giving as well, we can also, come across this question about balance. What feels right for me in my financial situation, but also what's a way to extend service and gratitude. Yeah. So here are some words and reflections about generosity and giving. Yes. And on that note, at Anukampa, we also allow people to develop their generosity in various ways. So if you'd like to develop giving and generosity, you can offer a donation. So that can be one-off in person here or on the internet. So you can set up also, in addition to a one-off donation, if you'd like to, a regular standing order, which really helps with the ongoing costs of the monastery. Another way to give, which is really, really superb, which we've been seeing a lot of from our newest volunteer, is by giving time. So we can give time remotely with admin things for the monastery, for events, for retreats. Or you can come in person, offer your time with maintenance around the monastery. And also running retreats and events. We don't have a very kind of cohesive retreat team at the moment. So if you've got time, that would be very valuable as well. Then other ways to give is by providing food for the monastic soon. It's going to be monastics soon, very soon in November. And you can bring food which is already cooked, or you can deliver cooked food. You can also order groceries for the monastery. So these are some ways, you can develop your generosity. And to end, thank you all for coming. It's been amazing connecting with you all, if I can speak on everybody else's behalf. Yeah. We look forward to seeing you at more half-day retreats. We've got other retreats that you can see online, longer ones. And look forward to practicing with you more and more in the future. Yeah.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you so much. Beautifully expressed. And I'd like to thank my two Anagarikas enormously for your beautiful service, friendship, and nurture for myself, for each other as well, and for the whole community. And everyone else who's been part of supporting us for so long. Or not for so long. It's always wonderful to have new people coming here for the first time and starting to be part of a wider and more diverse community. So it's really a privilege to see it taking place around us. And I think you all in your practice nourishes all of us here. So thank you very much for coming. And we hope to see you again soon.